Literary agents. That's what today's topic is about. Basically, are they a game changer for you and your writing career? Or are they a myth? Are they just something that's out there in the ether and us writers are like, we need them or we'll never have a career? Literary agents are often seen as gatekeepers of traditional publishing, but their role goes far beyond simply securing book deals. They're your advocate, your business partner, and sometimes even your mentor in this ever changing industry. However, today we are going to learn about the truth. The truth about literary agents. Do you really need one? Because how can literary agents help you land a deal, negotiate the best possible terms for your contract, and provide guidance throughout your writing journey? It seems like a lot. But there are a few questions I answer in this lesson today. Well, also asking the real question like, is a literary agent right for you? And does not having a literary agent truly mean you can't have a career as a writer? So let's go into it. But Thomas, what is a literary agent? Well, they are very different than managers, but for today, we are going to focus on how a literary agent is a professional who represents writers and their written works to publishers, film producers, and other potential buyers. Additionally, agents, literary or otherwise, have a license to practice. They have to pay for that. And by the way, they can't really charge more than 10%. If you look that up, pretty interesting. Their primary role is to help authors secure book deals by pitching manuscripts to editors at publishing houses, but their responsibilities aren't technically only that. They are not your lapdog. No. It goes beyond that. A literary agent acts as an advocate, ensuring that an author's rights are protected and negotiating the best possible terms for contracts, including advances, royalties, and subsidiary rights. They are the disconnect between you and the publisher. Why do I say it that way? Because they take out the emotion. They are there for the numbers. You're there for the career. More importantly, I just want to say when I go to the 10% thing, managers can actually charge more than 10% because they are not licensed agents. They are managers of your career. They are making specific moves to ensure the growth of your career and get you in front of the right people. Agents are more the business side. Not that managers can't handle the business and contracts, but agents are traditionally there to negotiate between the two. But they also, they'll help you out. They'll say, hey, you should try this out. Hey, I met this person, etc., etc. However, they are licensed. That's the important factor. In addition to handling the business side of things, agents also provide career guidance, depending on how close your relationship is, help authors refine their work to make it more marketable. They'll be the ones that read through and say, hey, I'm sure you've heard about this. Can you do a resubmit? Here's some adjustments I recommend to see if I can represent you. However, sometimes when you are signed to them, they will also say, you may want to change this up. They also offer industry insights that can help shape an author's career, basically telling you when and where things are more popular. Maybe you should switch this up. Hey, your descriptions are 3 pages long. Essentially, a literary agent is both a business partner and a mentor, helping writers navigate the often complex and competitive world of publishing. I want to say something before we go a little further. I had in the television industry, film and television, I had a show called Laundry. It never got made. However, let me tell you how I got my literary agent. For practice, I wanted to practice writing screenplays. So this wasn't even something I was passionate about. I just was like, let me practice writing screenplays. This is before I got into the industry. This script was old, and this story is probably, 14 years old now. 14 years ago, ish. Maybe 13. Anyway, so I wrote this screenplay out. I sent it to a friend, by the way, who was in school for screenwriting. So it was a friend who was in a college paying money for screenwriting. And I sent it to them and said, hey, can you look over this? And they told me the screenplay was terrible The formatting was horrible, and I didn't do all the traditional things you're supposed to be doing in a screenplay. And I says, all right, thank you for that. Nonetheless, I didn't change anything because I've always been an advocate of voice is through style, representation, and process. Same thing with my music career. People used to always like, oh, you don't play with the 1-3-5s or the 1-3-6s. Your stuff is like odd times. And I go, well, I'm just writing what I write. I don't want to. I don't want to write what's out there. I want to. What do I feel? I wasn't trying to be different. I was just like, this is what feels. So I did that with everything, including my writing. Lo and behold, long story short, my best friend was working at a hospital. At the time, he was my best friend. He's still brothers to me. He was working at a hospital, and the guy who worked with him, they were basically janitors. He was a cleanup writer. There's like these cleanup writers. They basically get scripts, or they don't even sometimes have to write scripts. They're just like, let's make this idea better, right? Anyway, he worked at MGM Studios. And the reason he was on Long Island and had the job in Hollywood is because he had a special needs child. And his job at the hospital allowed his insurance to cover the necessity to take care of his child. So MGM, because they liked him, they let him work from home and then come out once in a while, like every other weekend or whatever it was. Anyway, that person said to my friend, we're having trouble at work. They're trying to come up with new original ideas and they can't think of anything. So they threw out like, they were just like, I don't know, maybe a show about laundromats or something. My friend was like, my friend has a whole show about laundromats. The guy was like, he does? Can you get a pilot from him or something? Can you get a sample? And he came to me and I said, yeah, sure. And I was like, let me just give it a once over. And I looked over it. I didn't change the format. I didn't add anything that other friend had suggested to add because I didn't agree with their suggestions. Mostly because they were talking about the foundational elements and not necessarily the narrative elements. So with that said, I sent it and they said, this is great. Can you get me another one? So then I wrote another one within 2 weeks and I sent it in. And he said, oh, this is great. I said, can you send another one? Right. So I sent the third one. And at the third one, they were like, this is really good stuff. And then when I explained to them that I just wrote those, the second and third one, they're like, oh, these feel like final. These are clean. These are good. These are strong screenplays. But also in the industry, what they do is they take your stuff, and then once they basically pick up a show, it all goes through rewrites anyway. But as an initial script, they were like, this is really good. They said, you have to get an agent, though, so we could deal with the negotiations. And I said, all right, no problem. Because I had movement, which I procured without an agent, they now needed the agent to move forward with the legal. And I contacted 5 agents. All 5 agents responded. They were interested. However, 3 of them did not handle TV screenplays. However, they loved that I was doing what they were doing, and they said they just wanted to reach back out because I was so far ahead. And they said, look, if you do right or you do anything that's narrative, please keep us in mind. I said, great. But one of them specifically was like, let's talk. We talked, and they became my literary agent, and they represented me. Lo and behold, the guy who was actually not the friend of the friend, but the guy who took me on at MGM Studios left the studio. And in the industry, if like somebody is attached to it, like a main studio head, if they leave, their projects sort of get squashed because their names are attached to it. And he went to a competitor studio, so they squashed the projects that were attached to his names. Plus, laundry went. Anyway, so lo and behold, again, long story short, I didn't need an agent to get things moving, but they did want me to have an agent to secure deals and start getting the paperwork going. However, when I did get the agent, the only reason they responded to me is because I had things moving. Okay. So there are many different ways to get an agent. There is write your stuff and send in query letters. In this case, It was just a matter of I created movement. I did that again, by the way, for another show called The Circle around the time I got cancer, actually. So that's really what slowed that down. Where we got meetings with 6 different studios based on the marketing, by the way, not even the screenplay. When we walked into those rooms, they go, "We've been waiting for you. All we've been hearing about is this story, this show," and it's because we just market the hell out of it. We did a was it Kickstarter or Indiegogo? Probably Indiegogo, and we actually gave all the money back. We raised money, right? But we then refunded everybody because we weren't doing the money. We weren't raising money to shoot it because you're not really supposed to shoot your own television pilots, because it doesn't matter. That's a whole nother video. Anyway, you could do that for film though. So at the end of it, we just gave everyone's money back because all we did was use that as a marketing tool, and it worked. We on IMDb, my BBR Productions went really high up as far as being closer to the top of. Notice the show was in the low thousands. Like there's like there's an IMDb like rating at the time. It was like the low thousands. Anyway, and we got in and they said, "This is great. Let's start talking about it," stuff like that. And then, we got an agent together, et cetera, et cetera. My health became an issue and I couldn't keep up with the movement of it. So don't get cancer. All right. Anyway, let's move on. I'm just trying to inspire you that it's not always about the literary agent first. Sometimes you can get things moving. And the second story had nothing to do with the writing. It had to do with the pitch or the concept. And that was through treatments. And I always tell people, even novelists, work on treatments, figure out how to pitch the treatments, let people pay you to write the screenplays. We did have the season written out, but they didn't want to see the script. They just loved the concept. Because again, once you get picked up, it's all rewrites anyway. So, and then the first time was technically through a relationship, and it just so happened the material was also good. Okay. All right, let's do this. How a literary agent can help you succeed. However, landing a deal with a major publisher. Okay, well, again, you can get a meeting with a major publisher if you have a relationship with somebody. That's why it's important to build your circle of influence. It's important to network. It's important to market yourself so people understand who you are. But one of the biggest advantages of having a literary agent is their ability to help you land a deal with a major publisher. Why? Because they are the relationship. They're the person you should get to know. But if you don't have a literary agent, and you put time into meeting people. And by the way, they could be nobodies and they're just gatekeepers. They're secretaries. They're people that work in the mailroom. I have a buddy that works for the graphic department, but not for the book designs. All they do is their website stuff and their ad work. But that is somebody within that industry. Okay. So remember that it's not a literary agent is somebody that's representing you and your works, mostly your works. All right, because they sign that works. But anyway, and they know the people that they need to talk to. But you could bypass that by just getting to know people. You will eventually need the literary agent or a lawyer to represent the contract and the negotiation. Anyway, these literary agents can find you the right person because they know the right people that would fit best for you. But they also would pitch your manuscript to the right editors since they know how to pitch. Instead of having you go in there, which you can still do, but pitching your story, a literary agent knows what sells the story. All right, which increases your chances of getting noticed. Their industry knowledge and connections open the doors that would be difficult for most writers to access on their own. Doesn't mean it's impossible, though, making it more likely that your book ends up in the hands of a publisher who genuinely is excited about it. This is probably the most important aspect of how a literary agent can help you succeed. All right. Negotiating a publishing contract can be overwhelming, especially if you're not familiar with the industry standard practices and the lingo. When I was dealing with a contract with my band, there's stuff in there that doesn't make any sense, especially when it comes to marketing and like how marketing money is distributed. And, they finagle words and phrases and terminologies, right? But it's the same thing with literary stuff, contracts with the agents, managers. You always want somebody to know what they're talking about. This is why you want a lawyer on hand. And if you have a literary agent, they're the ones that understand the lingo. But they also know, like, if you go in, do you know what the standard practice is for royalties? What do you understand the standard practice for media representation of those royalties, or marketability, or, for example, uh, you could give your royalties to the publishing rights, or I should say, you get royalties for the publishing rights, right? You're licensing the work. But did you know sometimes they'll ask for audio, different mediums? So they'll ask for audio, they'll ask for like merchandising. And if you take a royalty for those, they own the licensing right, right? Of course, once the contract ends, you get it back, but they own it and they're getting the majority of the money, and then you get a small percentage. If you don't know that, they can lump sum that into one big clause, and now you miss out. If like, say, a video game company comes in and goes, "We love your fantasy book. We'd love to make a game out of it," they actually have to go talk to your publisher. All right. So a literary agent acts as your advocate, ensuring you get the best possible terms for your contract. You don't get screwed, but they also know how to negotiate advances to your or create bidding wars. They know how to get the best royalties, subsidiary rights, which is the does it go for audio, publishing, hardcover, softcover, merchandise, gaming rights, film, TV, all that is subsidiary rights. The other key aspects of the deal to protect your interests are a part of their wheelhouse. So, with an experienced agent by your side, you can rest assured that you're not leaving money on the table, which is very important. All right, last thing for this. So, how a literary agent can help you succeed? They could provide advice through your writing, journey. So, beyond securing deals and negotiating contracts, a literary agent can really help you with the career you want. They're not managing your career. A manager would actually sit down with you and they'd start figuring out the best moves, start planning out like 1, 3, 5, 7, 10-year goals. Agents might do that if they really have a close relationship with you, but remember, they're representing anywhere from 1 to, say, 20 people, depending. Usually not much more than 20, because they don't want to, but again, if they're serving 20 people and the top 5 people in their roster are bringing them the money, they're going to put a lot of time into the 5, and they'll be like, oh, these other opportunities fell through, and maybe you guys would be interested, the other 15, right? But they provide, like, an agent can provide valuable guidance on shaping your manuscript, not necessarily your career, but they could offer insight into market trends, and they can help you make strategy decisions about your career path, in the sense of, what kind of books would you like to do next? Should we focus on a series or a saga? Okay, but that sounds sort of like what a manager does. Yeah, a manager is actually thinking beyond your book. They're thinking film. They're thinking, businesses. They're thinking, businesses? What do you mean? Well, believe it or not, you could create a publishing company. Look at Brandon Sanderson. He has a company that is basically making it so he could bypass the publishing companies, even though he originally signed with them. And now he's making millions on Kickstarter. So those are businesses, but he also has businesses. Okay, he has offices and he has like teams, and that's all about building your business beyond the book. He has role-playing games, etc., etc. So, but a literary agent can sit down with you and say, hey, what work do you want to work on next? What kind of challenges are there in the publishing process that you need work with? And of course, a good agent is there to help you grow as an author and make the most out of your opportunities. Again, it is focused mainly on your career as an author. They're not necessarily interested in whatever, the big picture. Again, that doesn't mean they wouldn't be, but, I'm sure Stephen King's agent is a little bit more hands-on than, say, a quote-unquote nobody agent. But how do you find an agent that's right for you? Finding the right literary agent is about more than just securing representation. It's about finding someone who truly understands your work and your vision for your career. You want to start by researching agents who represent your genre. Look at the acknowledgement in books similar to yours. Authors often thank their agents, giving you a clue about who might be a good fit. You can also use resources like Association of Authors Representation, which is AAR, Query Tracker, and Manuscript Wishlist, MSWL, to find agents actively seeking new clients. Now, once you have a list of potential agents, dig deeper. Check out their websites, look at their submissions, guidelines, all these other things. What are recent deals they did? Look up industry information. It's also helpful to follow agents on social media to get a sense of their personality and what they currently are interested in. This is something that does help. You find them on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. Blue Sky's a new one that's coming up. You find them on Facebook, all these other things, and you just follow them. But more importantly, don't bombard them with, I'm an author, I have a book, hey, you should look at me. Work with their movement. And what that means is comment, like, and share their stuff. Celebrate their victories, whatever it is. Look at the inside adventure that they're representing. When they celebrate their authors, celebrate their authors. Follow their authors. Get seen and become present within their community. The more they see your name, the more likely they're going to remember you. They might even be, depending on how you talk to them, especially if it's like, you could be like, oh, great job, congratulations. Or you could say something that's a little bit more empathetic and personal and let you stand out a little bit. And maybe they're going to look at them and be like, wow, this person's always so supportive and so lovely. They aren't selfish. They don't say anything generic. Who are they? And they'll look and they're like, oh, you're an author. And then it takes a little bit, but it's about building and cultivating relationships. The other thing when it comes to finding agents, again, for what I did was I built movement in my career, and then I reached out to, the first time it was like I reached out to 5. The second time was a direct relationship through, at the time, my producing partner's manager had an agent friend that was very close with them, and they said, you need to talk to these guys and represent them. And the guy was like, oh, let's do it. But he was mostly sports and athletics, but he was trying to get more into the film and television industry. However, it just worked out that we did all the work and they were going to just basically do the representation until I could not physically walk and stuff like that. Anyway, all right. That was a while ago. I'm doing better. I'm just gray now. By the way, see this? If you look at pictures like not too long ago, I was like brown, like dark brown, and they took some pieces out of my body, and the body was just like, I'm done. Anyway, who cares about that? Right? No one cares about that. So again, when it comes to finding literary agents, you do your research, you do your interaction, you got to interact with them. Okay. You could create movement in your career and then reach out to agents basically in the same way, which represent your area, but your movement would be the sales pitch. You wouldn't be like, my book. You'd be like, look, I have a publishing company that's interested. This is the stuff they were talking about. They liked my pitch, and now they said I need an agent to move forward. That is the pitch. The pitch is not my book. Do you like my, because they don't care about your book at that point. You already have the deal, right? The deal is in motion. So they're like, this is an easy sign. So that's a good way to do it. Another way is just get involved in your community. And what does that mean? It means where are the awards held? Try to get into the award show. Where are opportunities for you to volunteer your time? Can you work at these agency companies? Can you work in a publishing company, even if it's volunteering time or a low wage position or whatever the process is? Can you get involved at like a Comic-Con as a volunteer or somebody else that works tables for authors? Can you get involved with people like literary press, people that do interviews with publications, authors, etc.? Can you get involved helping authors? All these things get you involved in the community. It gets your name seen. They see your value sets, your strengths, your weaknesses. They see the power to lead, follow, and advise. Leading is not taking over. Leading is creating initiative, not only in yourself, but inspiring initiative, aspiring to inspire. And then follow is not necessarily about going in blindly, but how do I elevate the mission of the tables I join? And then advice is not to be right or chosen, it's to have the ability to include options for the mission of the table to choose from. And that creates your strengths, etc., etc. And what's a value set? Real quick, a value set is basically your malleability, your but also your capability and movability. So if you have like Brad Pitt's value set is that he's influential. If you sign him onto your film, it's most likely, if not automatically, going to get greenlit. If you have Brad Pitt, having Brad Pitt will probably most likely get other actors to be like, yeah, I'm interested. Okay, that's a value set. It's like you create movement. You can go up and down and you open doors. Those are value sets. Okay. But what is the querying process? The querying process is about how you reach out to literary agents to see if they're interested in you. But typically, what you do is you send a letter, which is a 1-page or less. It's a 1-page pitch that introduces your book, provides a brief summary, and includes some information about you as an author. Again, if you have movement, your pitch is, my name is Thomas J. Bellezza. I wrote a book. It's epic fantasy, and this publishing company is interested. I'm now at the stage where they asked me to get an agent representation. That is your pitch. You don't have to talk about the book, because then they'll be like, well, tell us more about the publishing company. The goal of the query letter is to grab the agent's attention. I have a publisher interested, or my book is about XYZ. All right. This would entice them to even ask for more. That's the power of the query letter. You don't have to give them everything. You just have to be like, hey, look at me. All right. Usually in the form of a simple chapter or a full manuscript. When it comes to them asking, so if you have movement, they'll just ask you about the movement. They might ask you for the manuscript, but at that point, they might not even care, honestly, because if a publisher's like, I want to publish your book, the agent's not going to be like, hey, can you change these things and resubmit it to me? No, they're like, oh, they like it? Fine, good. However, if you don't have movement and you reach out to an agent with a query letter, they will ask for either a sample chapter or a full manuscript. I will say this. You do not have to have a perfect manuscript or a perfect chapter. It needs to represent your voice. It has to be clear. It has to show your style, your technique, and it has to have all the elements of a strong narrative, which has plot and story. Plot is what needs to happen no matter what, and story is how it unfolds through the emotion choices, how it unfolds through the characters' emotional experiences and choices. What I say about you don't have to hire like a line editor and a full edit is because they're going to suggest changes. They're going to ask you to rewrite things. They want to, can you write, and do they like the essence of the story or the narrative, I should say? And then they're going to like, yeah, this is good stuff, but we're going to have to do some changes. So if you spend all that money on editing and doing 3 different edits, it's like in the film industry. They don't care if you spell everything right. They care that it makes sense, that the story has fluidity, that it has an arc, that the characters are interesting. Even the format of your script doesn't matter. And people are like, yes, it does. And you're like, no, look at Quiet Place. There's literally 3 or 4 pages where it goes, it's 1. And then the second page says 2 in the middle, and then 3, and then 4. There's other variations where the script is all cuckoo, and there's other scripts that have like pasting on it. Like some great voices come out in the destruction of format. You just need to understand it enough to break the rules. So once you have the query letter, you send it in. They say yay or nay, and if they say yay or nay, they say send me a sample chapter, a full manuscript. If you do want me to go over a query letter, let me know in the comments below. If I get enough people saying yay, then I'll say okay. But you want to make sure to follow each agent's submission guidelines carefully. I will repeat that. Make sure to follow each agent's submissions and guidelines very carefully. Don't make stuff up. Just follow it to the T. Some want a synopsis, while others prefer just a query letter and maybe sample chapters. Maybe follow instructions. You do want to personalize each query letter by mentioning why you think that particular agent would be a good fit for your work. The querying process can take time, and rejections are part of the journey, so be persistent. And you always want to keep refining your query letter and targeting agents who are the best match for you. Remember, finding the right agent is about mutual fit. You want someone who loves your work, but also someone you can trust to guide you through the ups and downs of the publishing world, especially if they ask you to make some changes, but the changes are fundamentally confusing to your voice. What's an example of that? Hey, I have this thriller, this dark portal thriller. And they're like, make this story so much better if it focuses on the romance. And you're like, but there's no romance in the story. Yeah, but like there should be like a happily ever after. You are the wrong agent for me. I will say this much. When you are personalizing your letter, just do research on them. Figure out what they've done, what they are doing. How do you fit with them? How do you associate with them? Why would your brand work well with them? Okay. All right. Let's fly through this. What to expect from an agent author relationship? Well, once you've signed with a literary agent, you can expect a professional relationship that involves collaboration, support, and advocacy. A good agent will work closely with you to refine your manuscript, ensuring it's in the best possible shape before submission to publishers. Before submitting it, meaning it's okay that you didn't edit it to be perfect. They provide editorial feedback, helping you strengthen your work while maintaining your unique voice and vision. That's a good agent. Your agent will also act as your representative in the publishing world. They handle the communication with editors, negotiating deals on your behalf, and manage the submission process. This means you can focus on your writing while your agent takes care of the business side of things, keeping you informed all along the way. That's important, that communication. Beyond the practical aspects, the agent relationship is also a mentorship. They should be guiding you and helping you and motivating you, especially when you feel down. But is a literary agent right for you? Let's talk about it. Two major things to think about. Do you need an agent now in your career? Whether or not you need a literary agent depends on your goals and where you are in your writing journey. If you're aiming to secure a deal with a traditional publisher, especially one of the big houses, then having a literary agent is essential if you're not purposely creating movement or don't have the means or time to do so. Agents have the industry contacts and connections and knowledge needed to get your manuscript in front of the right editors. However, if you're just starting out, it might be worth taking some time to build your craft, create a strong manuscript, and even consider smaller presses or self-publishing before pursuing an agent. For example, Brandon Sanderson's first books, as per his mouth and words, said it basically was someone else's book because he was writing in the voice and style of authors that inspired him. It took him a while to really find his voice until he found Elantris, which was the first book that got published for him. Now, in this industry, like most industries, people remember those who, in their minds, are not ready. Okay? So the issue is, and I'm not saying this to make people nervous, but the process can lead to them writing you off. Okay? It happens with comedy, music, athletes, you name it, even business career opportunities that are like within the blue collar world. If I was a plumber and I was just starting out and I went to a company and said, hey, look, I'm a plumber and I barely know what I'm doing and I didn't get an apprenticeship yet, but I'm trying to get a job, they're going to look at me and be like, you're terrible. But you're not terrible. You just don't know yet. Comedy, if you go up and you do open mic nights, but you're doing it in front of other comics and big clubs, like you should be doing open mic nights in a dive bar. You should be technically actually working with other comedians privately and like actually having writing sessions and practice. Anyway, that's a whole of this video. But if they see, if like, let's say you go and you're at Gotham Comedy and it's an open mic night and you go up there and you're just trying material. It's not even worked material. You're just like, here's some new jokes and you're looking in your phone and you're like, Okay, so they were Mexicans, right? And people would be like, that is not funny. And then they're like, oh, this guy, not only do they not have this stuff memorized because they're reading off a thing, but they don't know timing. They're just saying words. It feels right. And if they see that enough, they're like, I forget this. It's the same thing with authorship. So if you're not ready for an agent, you should be writing a couple books before you push forward. You know what I'm saying? However, you could also be, if you do the work, you get the work done. So sometimes it's okay to hold off and find your voice as an author before jumping into query process. The second thing you should keep in mind is, can you still be successful without an agent? As we've discussed, yes, you can absolutely be successful without a literary agent. Many authors have found success through self-publishing, working with small independent presses, or even hybrid publishing models where they are self-published, but they also get certain kind of books or genre style books published traditionally. Self-publishing gives you full control over your book, from the creative aspects to marketing and distribution. However, you don't get a keen eye, not the fruit, but a keen eye looking at your work, saying maybe this character name might be something you should change. Small press may accept unsolicited submissions, which allows you to bypass the need for an agent altogether. Now, the key is to define what success means for you, whether it's creative control, financial gains, or reaching a specific audience, and choose the path that aligns best for you. Me personally, success is defined as making a living within your field of interest. A living is not a lifestyle. A living is affording an average monthly overhead, meaning if I'm paying my bills, well, working within my industry doesn't necessarily mean I have to just be writing my books. It means I'm working within the publishing industry, or for me, it's the entertainment industry. Publishing is part of that. Writing, is part of that. Authorship. Then I am successful in my field. I don't look at success as my book. My book was number one on the bestsellers list. To me, that's not success, because you could get that, and then your next 5 books don't sell. If you don't believe me, ask R.R. Martin. That's what happened with his sci-fi books, and he was like, what am I going to do? And then he had to get into television, and he started writing scripts for television, and then somehow, somewhere, he was writing Game of Thrones. That came out, and that changed his career. But still, he was like, I need money. Going broke. Ultimately, the decision to seek out a literary agent is a personal one that you have to think about. It's about evaluating your goals for your career, understanding the pros and cons of each publishing route, and deciding what will best help you achieve your vision. There's no one size fits all in this path of authorship. Okay, and success comes in different shapes. A quick final thought. A literary agent can be an invaluable partner in your writing career, helping you navigate the complexities of publishing industry. But remember, finding the right agent is a journey in itself. It takes time, patience, and a lot of research to find someone who truly believes in your work and shares your vision for your career. Don't rush the process. Focus on finding an agent who understands you, your writing, and your long-term goals. When you find the right fit, the agent-author relationship can be one of the most rewarding aspects of your journey as a writer. Now, remember that the goal shouldn't solely be about finding an agent. Instead, focus on building your brand, establishing your quality, and creating a demand for your work and your work, for you and your work. What does that mean? A demand is that you market yourself in a way that people understand your brand, your image, voice, and the conversation you create with your audience. And your voice is all about your missions, morals, and the purpose behind it. And marketing will help you build awareness, create interest, and ultimately generate sales so people buy into your brand's message emotionally. Now, remember, when you dedicate yourself to creating compelling stories, consistency in improving your craft, connecting with the readers through marketing, agents will come looking for you. Success in writing comes from establishing a foundation of excellence and presence. Presence. Some people forget about that part. Getting an agent is just one piece of the puzzle. Building a sustainable, fulfilling career on your own terms is the true victory. All right. Next video in this series will be author branding and personal branding. We're going to basically help authors develop a strong personal brand that helps connect with their target audience, building an emotional connection. Question: are you currently looking for a literary agent, or have you worked with one before? What's the biggest question you have about finding or working with an agent? Now, if you want, just focus on the first one. Are you currently looking for a literary agent, or have you worked with one before? Tell us about your experience in either case. Share your thoughts. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. All right, I guess with that, that was it. That was a lot of fun. Keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.